It's time for Weekly Pulse, your heartbeat to what's trending in sports. Welcome to Weekly Pulse. I'm your host, Mackenzie Salmon. If you haven't already noticed, the Miami Dolphins are becoming a sneaky dark horse team in the AFC East. We brought on defensive end Christian Wilkins to talk about the team's sudden rise, as well as his thoughts on the frontrunner for Heisman, former Clemson teammate Trevor Lawrence. On the topic of college football, Tim Tebow stops by to chat about his thoughts on the college football playoffs, and our very own Dan Wolken and Paul Meyerberg help us to look ahead to what's in store for the rest of the season. Before we get to all that, let's talk some NFL and kick it off with this week's Power Rankings. Week 8 was a whirlwind. Time for risers and fallers. Riser, Miami Dolphins. Leave it to Brian Flores to make Tua's debut a footnote in their drubbing of the LA Rams. This Dolphins team is exciting, young, fast, and only gaining confidence. They can be a real contender in the AFC East and for a wild card spot. Faller, Cleveland Browns. They could have made a statement by beating the Raiders. Instead, they flopped like a loose umbrella in the wind. Given that they play in a division with the Steelers and Ravens, this loss to the Raiders could come back to haunt them in the wild card race down the stretch. Riser, Cincinnati Bengals. They didn't just beat the Titans, they whooped them for the better part of the game. The Bengals have been in most of their games, and I think they finally found a winning formula. Between Joe Burrow slinging it around and a defense gaining confidence, this Cincy team is going to be a tough out going forward. Faller, Tennessee Titans. If you want to be considered one of the elites, you can't drop a game to the Bengals. Cincy may have found a blueprint for containing A.J. Brown and exposing the Titans' lack of pass rush. If a rookie in Joe Burrow can pick you apart, just imagine what Mahomes would do to this defense.
I might as well be the Avery Williamson of locks, from the bottom to the top. Love to bounce back with that perfect 3-0 last week, so let's get it again. I'm Lorenzo Reyes, and I've been covering the NFL for 7 years now, and every week this season, I'm going to hit you with the 3 bets I feel most confident in, my locks of the week. And let's kick this off with a team that was good to me last week, the Kansas City Chiefs. They've been good to me all year, but I'm going to go against them. And that's because of the team they're playing against and how big this line is. The Chiefs are at home, giving 10.5 against a Panthers team that is much better than I think people and Vegas give them credit for. Carolina is 3-1 against the spread when on the road, but what's really swaying me is CMC. He's back. Don't get me wrong, I think the Chiefs still win this one, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people expect. I've got the Panthers losing, but covering 29-24. Now, let's turn to a team that is simply too inconsistent, makes too many mistakes, and underwhelms. This team is also 0-4 against the spread at home. It's the Falcons. And indeed, they are playing in Atlanta against a Broncos squad that also has its share of lapses, but is 5-2 against the spread overall and 3-0 against the spread on the road. Denver appears to finally be locked and loaded. See what we did there. So I'm taking the Broncos to win outright 26-23. And finally, there are actually some spreads that I dig, but there's this over-under that keeps tempting me. The Dolphins are on the road at Arizona and the line is at 48. This is that bucket of fried chicken that I just can't take my eyes off of. The Cardinals have hit the under in 6 out of their last 7 games, and the Dolphins have hit the under in 5 out of 7. Miami has the NFL's top scoring defense, and Arizona ranks 9th. Expect Tua time to have some growing pains, so I'm picking the Cardinals to win, but Miami to cover a 5-point spread, 23-20. But more importantly, hit that under.
He was a Steeler, then a Raider, then a Patriot, now a Buck. With that, it's only appropriate to serve up 4 things to know about Antonio Brown as his business is booming again. 1, he's made a great first impression. Bucks coach Bruce Arians said that Brown looked fantastic upon reporting to the team's headquarters on Wednesday, and that he thinks the receiver is in good shape physically and mentally. 2, he has a friend in TB12. The Bucks insist that it was Arians and GM Jason Light's decision to bring Brown aboard, but I think it's pretty obvious that this move doesn't get made without the endorsement of Tom Brady, who was so supportive of Brown last year during the receiver's brief stint in New England. 3, the 1-year, $1.7 million contract that Brown signed is heavy on incentives. Now, Brown will collect $1 million in base salary and a roster bonus, but there are also per game bonuses of $31,250. And if the Bucs win the Super Bowl, Brown could collect another $750,000. 4, his legal issues are not over. While there are no criminal matters pending, Brown is a defendant in a civil suit that alleges sexual assault and rape. The trial is set to begin in December in Broward County, Florida, but it is possible that the trial could be pushed back or could be dismissed completely if there's some type of financial settlement. Because it's a civil case, there's a lot of gray area in terms of where this is headed, and also a lot of gray area as to whether or not there will be more NFL discipline coming.
Coming up, Christian Wilkins chats with me about his new quarterback Tua, his former quarterback Trevor Lawrence, and the it factor that both of them possess. Welcome back to Weekly Pulse. Last year, the Dolphins were the team everyone was saying they're tanking for Tua. This team obviously rebuilt in a year. Were you at all offended by the tanking jokes last year, and how was it such a quick turnaround for you guys?
You just hear it kind of all the time. You hear the rhetoric, you hear people just talking about, oh, they're tanking for Tua, they're doing this or doing that. And the most important thing is we just stay focused within the organization. And know that we're trying to build something here, and if it's fast, it's not going to last, so we're trying to just build something over time and get the right kind of guys in the organization, everyone buying the coach Flo and his beliefs, and then just keep growing, just keep getting, like I said, keep getting the right guys around here, and then hopefully we'll just continue to grow into something special over time and over years come along. But it all just starts with preparation.
When Tua was named the starter, what was the general consensus of the team in that move? Were you guys happy?
We all love Tua. He's coming day one, very humble. You don't never know what you're going to get with a guy who gets drafted so high and been talked about since obviously came onto the spotlight, coming onto the scene so big. But he's as humble as can be. We all love him. We all got his back and got a lot of respect for him, just the way he's approached it, being a professional since day one. So that's been really cool to see, and it's easy to get behind a guy like that.
Everyone's in love with the Steelers defense, but technically the Dolphins are the NFL's #1 scoring defense in Week 8. Why is no one talking about this?
Again, that's something that, we'll leave that for everyone else to talk about. At least for us, we're always just focusing on being the best we can be each week. And it's still early in the year. We've only played 7 games, so there's a lot of ball to be played left. So, we'll just keep grinding, keep trying to get better each day. And then we'll see. Then at the end of this year, we could maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, exactly. People were, of course, talking about Tua before the Rams game, but honestly, his start was a footnote to the coaching job of Brian Flores and the defense. What, in your opinion, needs to maybe happen, or what flip needs to happen to the script for the conversation to go to the Dolphins are a legit team?
Well, again, like I said, that's not something we're focused on per se as a team or as an organization. We're just really focusing on being our best each and every day. Big thing is just getting the right kind of people, the right mindset, the right focus, and believing in ourselves first and taking care of business within the organization. And then we'll let all that other stuff take care of itself.
Your alma mater is doing very well this season. Obviously, Trevor is dealing with COVID. Trevor is dealing with COVID and expects to make a full recovery. But have you spoken to anyone on the team about it? Do you still keep tabs on Clemson?
Yeah, I still, those are all my little bros over there, and they still reach out to me here and there, just as a big brother, and just just for advice, whatever. And I'll talk to those guys every so often. But I think they're doing some really good things, even with everything going on there. They're able to stay focused and still be great leaders in the community and still perform well on the field. So it's good to see that. I'm a proud Clemson alum. So you always have a little bit of hometown pride when you see them doing great things like that. And I think they'll continue to do great things as the year progresses. And
Coach Tebow has quite the impressive head coaching record. What makes him such a great coach in your opinion?
Really just his ability to, one, connect with young men, and also to build and grow as well. I feel like he has a good sense of what we need to experience and what we need, what we need holistically, not just football, in our lives. And he does a great job of getting the right people in the program, and the right people around the program to instill, and to pour into our lives. And that's really important. And he just does a great job of managing all the different kind of people within the program. That's just one of the special like things about him. He just is able to move people, bring everybody together, and get everybody on the same page, same focus, same mindset, to ultimately, produce and win games and do the things he's done.
Trevor is a consensus #1 pick, and he could go to your rival Jets. Given the state of the organization, what would be your advice to him as far as whether he should go for the draft or not?
I mean, again, like, I don't know what's going to happen with, there's just so many things going on this year, and like, you never know who's going to have the first pick, this or that. But the biggest thing is just make a decision that feels best for you. I had that same decision to make coming out of my junior year staying. I decided to stay, but don't listen to anyone else. Do what you feel is best for you and your family. And, pray on it, think about it hard, and, do what ultimately you got to do.
As you know, a lot of factors go into being successful on a team, including the team culture. When you were going into the draft, how much were you focused on the fit of the team and your personality?
Oh, well, I was more focused on the team gonna have to fit my personality. No, I'm just joking. But I feel like I was gonna be fine pretty much wherever I went. Because I feel like, something that most people can respect and appreciate coming into a team is someone who's just gonna work hard and loves football. And I feel like any team, that's what they were going to get with me, and that's what they have. That's what the Dolphins have with me. I just love the game, love football. I'm coming every day, work hard, and try to be a leader in the locker room.
And something I think that's really cool about you is you played against Tua and practiced against Trevor. From your experience, what makes each of them unique, and what gives you the confidence that Trevor can play in the league next year if he chooses to do so?
Like something that a lot of people always talk about, and that a lot of teams and people just look for a quarterback is that it factor. You don't really know what it is, but when they have it, it's weird. And both of those guys definitely have it. Just like that energy, that vibe, that aura, that just make you want to be around them, that makes you want to get behind them and follow them. And just obviously they're very talented, but they're great people, both great people. First. So which is awesome. Like there's just guys who are, good people who just happen to be really good football players. And I think Trevor will be awesome. I think he'll be special whenever he goes to the league and whenever his time comes. And if I know Trevor, he's more focused on just being as great as he can where he is right now, and then he'll work, focus on that after.
During your time at Clemson, I read that you saved more than $15,000 while being a full-time student athlete and a substitute teacher, and you've partnered with Capital One. So talk a little bit about how that partnership's been and how easy it was for you.
It was really easy decision for me to, partner with Capital One because, first and foremost, myself, I was a first generation college student, and Capital One has the First Gen Focus program where they're helping, first generation college students get prepared with their wellness, career readiness, help gain, financial security, and things like that. So that was very important to me because that was something I was always worried about, being a first generation college student, not knowing, what I was going to get coming out of college, or, obviously I hoped the NFL would be a dream for me, but I didn't know if I was going to get that. But I knew while I was there, you have a lot of worries as a first generation college student. So it's just an opportunity for me, to do what it is that I love to do, mentor students, mentor people, teach, use my platform really, just to pour into the lives of others. So it was really easy for me to want to be a part of the, to partner with Capital One.
After the break, we continue our college football discussion. Dane and Paul join me to talk about their thoughts on college football playoff contenders, as well as what we can expect for next year's season. We'll be right back. We're back on Weekly Pulse. So Paul and Dan, as you know, we see what's happening with Wisconsin. Arguably the two biggest names in college football, Nick Saban and Trevor Lawrence, have gotten COVID. When is enough, or will it ever be enough to cancel the season at this point? Paul, we'll start with you.
We're not stopping the season. Are you joking? Like, we're already going. We're full tilt. This train is rolling downhill. There's no stopping. It's going to keep going until we have a national championship. Trevor Lawrence, Nick Saban, the president had COVID. We're not stopping college football. It's certainly completing. So the question is how many cancellations we'll have along the way. Probably more, obviously more. But no, this is not stopping. Clemson will continue, and so will college football.
This question is for you both. What have you learned about college football this year in terms of its handling of the pandemic and still playing anyways?
I think they've done the best that they could in this situation, and they meaning each of these individual conferences. You decided to play in the pandemic, so you accepted the risks. My sympathy lies more with the players who had to sacrifice their normal college experience. Not so much for the coaches who are still making a couple $1 million, but the student athletes who had to, bunker down. They're not living in a bubble, but they're certainly not experiencing the normal college experience. So my sympathy lies with them. But just overall, generally speaking, you reap what you sow. You try to play football amid COVID and amid a pandemic. It's what has happened has been entirely expected.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Dan, do you think if Clemson loses, is there any argument to keep them out of the college football playoffs?
Well, the biggest thing that the committee is going to have to deal with this year is evaluating teams who have key players out due to COVID. And you have to evaluate Clemson. The Clemson team that's going to be on the field Saturday is not going to have Trevor Lawrence. Now, certainly DJ Uiagalelei is a great player in his own right. He's a freshman who did a terrific job in his first start, but he's not their starting quarterback. And, if Clemson were to lose, I think the committee gives them at least some slack because you would have to evaluate them without their starting quarterback. And that's going to be true of every team who loses a key player because of COVID this year. What
do you think will be the biggest factor in picking the Final Four? You mentioned you don't know how they're going to, but is it really going to come down to just an eye test?
Well, it's always an eye test to some degree, and I know that we like to talk about the data and the strength of schedule and analytics and different metrics. There is an eye test. And that's why in Alabama always gets more benefit of the doubt. Now they didn't get in last year, but they have gotten in without winning their conference. Why? Because it's Alabama. Everyone knows how good they are. And they do get more slack, and maybe they deserve it. I'm not saying one way or the other. I usually prefer to pick a playoff in terms of what you've accomplished on the field, and you look at the good wins and you look at the losses and you make a judgment that way. But at the end of the day, Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, those three teams can afford more of a stumble than anyone else in the country.
And who currently has the inside track to win the Heisman? I want to know both of your opinions, but Dan, we'll start with you.
Well, I would say right now it's probably Justin Fields. Trevor Lawrence, I think, was considered the favorite coming into the year. He's going to miss a couple games. Not saying that that's good or right or fair or whatever, but it is true. It's not his fault that he got COVID. But if you treat it like an injury from a Heisman standpoint, it's less data to put into the formula in people's minds. And Justin Fields, he may miss games in the future, but as of right now, and especially the way he's come out of the gates, I think he's a slight favorite. I think you probably should start putting Mac Jones on your radar from Alabama with what he's done. So I don't know. I think Lawrence will have opportunities when he comes back to make up that ground, but I think it's Fields right now.
I'm glad you mentioned Mac Jones. Paul, I want to know, have you seen Mac Jones play?
Never seen him in person. we know all about him as a player, as a recruit. He was the other quarterback in the Alabama class where they signed Tua Tagovailoa. So he's kind of been underrated, overlooked throughout his college experience. I think Dan's right, totally, that Mac Jones is a player in the Heisman race. I think the issue he has is there's a perception that he's kind of a system QB, while Justin Fields is reinventing what an Ohio State quarterback is. And right or wrong, I think for a lot of voters, that's part of the issue with Mac Jones winning the Heisman. But He's been better than expected, no doubt, certainly taking advantage of an enormous amount of skill talent around him. If he stays throughout the end of his college career, I think he'll end up with a bunch of records at Alabama.
Welcome back to Weekly Pulse. The one and only Tim Tebow hops on to give his thoughts on which quarterback goes first in the NFL draft. And here's a hint, it might not be Trevor Lawrence. I think everyone is just assuming NFL teams are going to tank for Trevor. The Jets, it comes to my number one pick, but should we assume Trevor Lawrence is the surefire number one pick in next year's draft?
I think Trevor is an amazing prospect. I think he has everything you're looking for, and I think he is worthy of the number one pick. With that being said, the game is changing, and Justin Fields plays as good as he did against Nebraska all year. I think you have to open your eyes to at least look at him because he's so fast, so physical, and he's a really, really good thrower. That you have to look at him, and then it's also you have to look at your needs. And I'm biased. From being a quarterback, I think quarterback's the most important position. And so I think whenever you can find one of these guys, a Trevor or a Justin, that probably should be the first pick. But I think they'll also look at some of these linemen too. But I think it will be between those two guys for the first pick.
So you think it's pretty close with them. I just want you to kind of break down both of them for me in terms of what you see the best out of each of them. Obviously, we can see them on the field every when they play, but how would you compare the two as far as like Justin and Trevor, how close they are?
Yeah, I don't think there's as big of a gap as a lot of other people. I think that that Justin is, I would say Trevor might be slightly more, have more experience playing from the pocket. I think Justin is probably a little bit more of an elite athlete to make more plays with his legs, a little bit thicker, stronger, faster. I think both of them have a little bit of an it factor. Some people call it some people call it chip on their shoulders. Some people call it an edge. Whatever you want to call it, both of them have that. I think you could go back to the semifinals last year when they played each other, and it's back and forth, and every time someone answered the bell. And I'm intrigued to see what happens with Justin when he gets more experience. We got to remember, he's only really played 1 year. Trevor's got to play pretty much 2 years now, and this being his third, and playing more games because the ACC started way before. So it's going to be intriguing to see if Justin, with his more experience, can continue to develop, because in the number of games he's played, he's developed really fast, and so that'll be really intriguing to me. The more experiences Justin continue to improve.
If an organization like the Jets is there with the number one pick, do you think Lawrence should consider staying? And if you were Trevor, what would you do in that scenario?
I think he should evaluate everything. I think he should pray about it, talk to wise counsel, really look at all of his options. I'm a believer that in the NFL, in college, but especially in the NFL, your success is so predicated on the system and the support you have. You have to have the right coaching staff. You have to have the right teammates around you. You have to have the right support. There's a lot of organizations that that they haven't put the right pieces around people to succeed, and you see other ones they just can keep putting them in and in and in. They're successful because they know what it means to work together. It's a football team, and they have to play into that word team. And I think it'll be really interesting. And if I was talking to Trevor, I would encourage him to evaluate everything, look at everything, have everything on the table, and then have a group of wise counsel that could give you advice, but truly go after what's in your heart.
That does it for this week's episode of Weekly Pulse. It's all football this weekend with one of the most anticipated college football games slated for Saturday against the two undefeated teams, Clemson and Notre Dame. I'm Mackenzie Salmon. Thanks for watching. Hey sports fans, if you want to see more videos like this, check out some of our other ones right here. And if you like what you see, make sure to hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more from USA Today Sports.